We care. Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody. What's going on? Well, a very good afternoon to you. How you be at 3:01 and 21 seconds to go right along with it, coming to you live from my mother's basement. TrustedBeard here. You there, hanging out with you today for a roundtable discussion going on about Battlefield, the rigors of leading a platoon, as we have three platoon generals here, and we'll also be talking about Battlefield 5, Battlefield 6, what we hope to come. So a little something special here on the cards for you today. Let me introduce first here, we've got Cup of Joe, Joe is a general for 30th. He ran the comp team. Uh, I think you all know him very well from the other podcasts. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his background, 30th, and all he did for them. Joe, how are you?
I'm very well, Beard. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good.
That's great. So yeah, as you were saying, I was the comp leader for 30th since Battlefield 5 kind of took its nosedive. We had decided to suspend our competitive division and waiting until whatever the next Battlefield is going to be to think about restarting that back up. Um, but we are kind of in 30th, honestly, is kind of in a little bit of a hibernation mode right now. There's not a whole lot of people that are continuing to play. We've got a smattering of BF1, BF5. I personally have been going back to BF4 on PC and playing that a fair amount. But it is, yeah, it's still a community, and we still try to stay a little bit active in there. But just our player base, unfortunately, went down considerably when they announced the stopping of support for the game. But
Uh,
we're still around.
As expected, I mean, TFR was kind of the same way. I'm sure I'll get into this at some point with me. And we'll get into, obviously, the reasons for the way things are currently. So glad to have you aboard. Thanks for jumping in. And on to the next one. Wick, how you doing, Wick? Leader of
Hey,
XLGN. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your group, and what you guys are doing right now?
yeah, so I'm Wick, leader of XLGN or Exclusive Legends. We're basically a pretty active community of gamers. We mostly center around Battlefield, obviously, but I think it's fun to always when you're cultivating a community to kind of branch out into some other games. So we just love to get online and play different games together. But mostly what we're all about is just kind of creating this community of people who have like the same interests or, can share hobbies and share different games. And just kind of like really focus on like people's character, and making sure we have an environment where no one's starting anything and no one's, trying to do on any of that. Right now, XLG is kind of it was for a little bit in a similar situation. As 30th, like we had especially after June, I think we'll talk about it a little more later. We had a lot of players, kind of going active. Hey, I'll be back to Battlefield 6, right? Is like the tagline of that. Um, but slowly, because the group stays active around different games, not just Battlefield, it kind of keeps everyone engaged with each other. So we kind of don't fall off the grid. It kind of keeps the community going. And we've actually, in the last couple months, had a resurgence of interest in Battlefield 5 and have, started to participate in like the Omega League, that just started up recently. And so it's actually staying through that community and using that community to drive the interest. We've kind of reassembled back into playing Battlefield 5 competitively.
How about that? That's amazing, right? A little kick in the butt or just a couple months off, what it'll do to you and kind of get that community back going again. Pretty interesting stuff. Do you have how many leaders do you have there in your group there? I know you're a pretty big group. What's your member size?
We have I remember, I don't know, I have exact
And
numbers. It's not as big as Scion, but Aver's got some members over there. But I think we're probably floating between actively like right now because of like the tick down, probably actively like 30 to 40. But then it can expand out when we're at our peak to like 100. So
hmm
it's been kind of like a ebb and flow. We have
which is
four. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
We have four senior leadership people. We have myself, JJ Constantine, Black Vans, and Dummy, who are
Okay,
our leadership.
okay. All of whom I actually know pretty well, or at least decently well. But just goes to show there that 30 to 40, active and it swells up to 100. That's that core group that you have that's kind of never going to go anywhere. And I think we'd all agree that having a core is kind of what keeps the group alive. And then, you know, you add on as you go, and occasionally you lose one. But yeah, you have perfect numbers right there to keep a solid, active community, tight knit too, which is, you know, always something key, which is something you mentioned. Hobbies, similar interests, similar games, all very important. So thank you. Um, On to Mr. Aberbear, however we wanna call him is what we'll go with today. Bear, how are you? Tell us a little bit about Scion, what you guys are about. I know you guys are a super active Battlefield 5 team. I see you guys almost in every server I log into.
Wow. Yeah, that's a compliment. Yeah, we are very active, fortunately. Been around since, well, forever, I suppose. I've been on Battlefield from Bad Company 2, but Cohesion was founded on Battlefield 1. I'm the leader of it. We were originally called TAC 1 back in the day, but we changed in 2019 to Cohesion. We have 9 platoons. One of them is a competitive platoon with around 32 members now.
Wow.
The others, the other 7 platoons are full with 100 members. Not all active, unfortunately, but we have another platoon called Cohesion 88th Chaos Division, which was named after a friend of ours who passed away recently. And that has 70 something members, 72, 78 members, I think. So yeah, we're quite a large platoon. We have a general, different general for each platoon. You know, and then we have a few leaders and a few different admins, you know, Discord servers and things, and yeah.
So you've got
So
yourself quite an organization there to run, huh?
yeah, we always joke about, you know, Battlefield 6 coming out and everybody coming back, you know, what would we do at
What the
that
heck's
time?
gonna happen then, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah, I know.
yeah, good times. But we won the championship recently, the Omega League. That was the first time we'd ever won a championship. You know, it's been a long time coming. We've been in the
Congratulations.
comp scene for about 2 years, so you know, it's been steady. You know, we've BMF League was our first league. We had 2 seasons in there. You know, we didn't do very well. So winning this league was great. You know, great experience.
Hmm.
And hopefully we can win some more matches. We got 2 on tonight now. So
There you go. Good luck. Good luck. We'll make sure to
yeah.
tune in. Um, okay, great, great, great. So let's, I guess, move on here now that we've kind of introduced ourselves. Um, we've all been leading, I guess, for various amounts of times and in different phases here of our leadership roles. Um, Me personally, I guess I should quick intro myself. I've been running TFR for what, a year and a few months now. I've been part of TFR for 4 years. We were Battlefield 1, came into Battlefield 5, uh, strong and heavy. We really gave it our all. Obviously, you know, as you know, a year and some change went by. They took away the squad conquest maps, yada yada. You know, that's kind of what killed it for us there to be a super active competitive Battlefield team. But we adjusted and we switched up, and now we're just a PlayStation 4 community, platoon, clan, however you want to call it. And we'll obviously be resurging back into Battlefield 6 when the time is, you know, when the time comes for sure. Um, but I guess that's a little bit about me. And then how we wanted to get into, you know, building a clan, building a comp team, and obviously specifically in Battlefield. I guess I'll go first here and then kind of let you guys branch off on it. What made us unique? What makes us unique to when we got to that point where we were a competent and at our peak performance as a Battlefield comp team? Uh, it was our unity. You know, that core group that you mentioned, Wick, that 30 to 40 guys that kind of always played together, always got on, just, you know, um, enjoyed each other's company, and then they bought in to that process. My process was not a get as many good players as you can and see what happens process. That happened. and that happened, and it hurt us hard. We lost 5 members, 6 comp members in one fell swoop because we played too easy, and then we played Defy, and then I think we played too easy, and then DF all in a row, and we got our asses whooped. And it put a sour taste in people's mouths, and we lost the team, and we had to rebuild. And we had some good players, but it just shows how important scheduling is and building is, and taking every little precaution, every step to ensure that morale is high, because if you don't have morale, you have nothing, and you need to have happy members. So I built my group around making sure everybody's happy, everybody enjoys each other's company, and we just put our motto as a simple motto, as a great place to play games with great people. And if we stick to that core belief, if we stick to that core and just say screw everything else, we will be successful. And it's worked out for us, and we built quite a comp team. And then sadly we kind of just stopped, but we'll get into that, I guess, as we go through the Battlefield life cycle. So I guess really again, my key was just getting the right group of people together, and no matter how long it took, which it took a while, we got the right group and we succeeded. So if that was one key for me, that would be mine. Joe, I know you ran a very, very successful competitive team, one of the top teams there. You guys were dedicated, and why don't you tell us a little bit about what made you guys successful?
Sure. Thank you for the compliment on the team. It's not just all me, obviously. It really comes down to the players. Yeah, direction came from me, but going after and getting the best players that you can, as you said, is the best for the actual team aspect of it, but probably not the best for the actual community aspect of being able to hold that team together. So it's a give and a take that I tried to ride the line and have best of both worlds. We had, really great people that were also really good at the game. And, we had our ups, we had our downs, kind of. We were always competitive. We always enjoyed that. That's one of the bigger things that I looked for when it came to getting people within the 30th comp team, was that competitiveness that so many of us really had. And as the life cycle of BF5 dwindled, those amounts of people started to just not be there anymore. Whether it's they have already had a team, that was always a huge thing. It's just like in a pool of players that was not very large to begin with, when the people started to drop off because they didn't want to play anymore, that pool became smaller, and teams started to consolidate their rosters, much to the detriment of the community. In my eyes, there were so many mid-level teams, and that's what I would consider 30th. I wouldn't say we're top tier by any means. We were definitely mid-level, but we kind of skirted and played against some of the top teams, and we were competitive at least. Didn't really win all that much, but we played and we tried to have fun doing it. And so the teams that are able to continue going now, I mean, hats off to XLGN and Scion and so many others that are still out there. Because if you really look at some of the teams that are out there, it's like 6 or 7 different teams worth of people within one team, which is, that's the life cycle of Battlefield comp in my eyes. You're never going to be able to stick with a really great you can stick with a really great core of people, but you're going to have those people that, life happens. People have to work, especially in this tumultuous time that we find ourselves in the world. And it's always been a very tough thing to run a comp platoon, but it's also been a very great thing to run it. You have your triumphs and then you have your downfalls, and it's just learning how to manage that in a more in a successful fashion that really it came down to. And moving forward, coming up for the next Battlefield, whenever that gets released, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it's great. That's all we can really hope for.
I know. Roller coaster ride it is. We'll get into that too in a little bit here. Wick, um, same thing. What makes up your clan here? What makes you guys unique? What were the keys here to kind of making you guys a successful group?
I think part of the keys to making a successful group is that, that team composition. I mean, it's funny because I always used to use the word like team cohesion. I don't want to use it so much because I don't want to like step on like average thunder. Uh, but I think a big part of that is the recruitment process, and some teams are just more like, oh, you want to join? That's great, come on in. And, XOGN takes a little bit of a different approach to it. We do have like a recruitment process with like a recruitment or probationary like period where you kind of like get a feel for the community and the community gets a feel for you. And a major part of our recruitment process is actually community input back. As leaders, you have to listen to what your community is telling you back about a player. And if it's a lot of good things and they're seeming like a good fit, and if it's not, then like it might be a pass, But it's all about that communication. And I think that's another key that we take into our matches is our ability to communicate together and just our perseverance, our ability to keep like a level head, whether you're doing really well and you're getting a little overzealous or, you're kind of getting hammered a little bit and you have to regroup. That perseverance is such a key part of keeping people's morales, stable. So you don't have you might not have big spikes in morale, but you also don't have big drops in morale, because people are kind of like matching their expectations. And part of that as a leader is finding teams to play that are good. They're going to be a good match for your team, like you mentioned. If you try to go up against every Goliath, you're gonna feel like a very small you're gonna feel like a very small team sometimes. But it's kind of knowing what your team's strengths are and what your team's stretches are, and finding other teams that can challenge your team, and also letting them know like, hey, this is gonna be a tough match. So like if we lose, like it's okay, but like try to use this match to learn. And in that you create opportunities for the members in your group to come and play together and go into something knowing what having an expectation for what to expect from it, because we want everyone to come in having an expectation that at the end of that time that they've invested in playing with us right now, you're going to have a smile, you're going to leave having fun, you're going to leave chatting with some people at the end of the game, and we're going to try to make it work for everyone's time so that people can get involved.
hmm I mean, everything you said, I just run through, like those same things, those same moments in my head, whether it's the lows, the morale, the scheduling, and everything else there. It's just, yeah, I run through those same moments, and it's quite a balancing act. Uh, you can't ever let anybody get too up. You can't ever let anybody get too down. And a lot of what we do here is just, we manage people. As much as we do the other stuff, it's managing people and making sure everybody's happy and enjoying themselves. Again, because the most important thing is that smile on the face at the end of the day.
Yeah. And it's always great too when you get, members who, message you and, they want to talk to you about other stuff, and just they want your opinion. They want to like have someone to chat with, and just that just like builds your confidence as a leader that you're doing the right things, that people want to come to you and get your opinion on stuff and really value your input. And that's all that all cuts to the core of what it is to like why we invest this time to organize these, organize our members.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's, kind of, you're almost leading into the next spot. We didn't even get to Bear yet, but, I think that's what makes me most proud to be a leader is, having people want to reach out to you and say, you know what, or just the first person they think of to reach out to when they're having a crap day is you. And, you know, makes you feel good, really does make you feel good about yourself. And we try and do the right thing, I think all of us as leaders here to help those who need it. And that's, to me, that's, again, what this is about. But Bear,
Yeah.
as I get all emotional over here. Um, you're up. Brief synopsis. How'd you build your group? What are the keys for you running such a large organization, especially? And what makes you guys unique?
Well, Wick said it there earlier, cohesion, it's in the name, like, it's all teamwork in it. We look for people who are team players. At the end of the day, like, we don't want drama. We don't last long in our group, so if you want to come and play with us, like, you want to be level-headed, keep yourself grounded, be a team player. And, we got two sides to the platoon, so there's a competitive side, if that's what you want to do. And then there's the casual side, which the majority of the platoon is made up of, And like I've touched on a few bases here, which I would agree with, and at the end of the day, you got to have fun, and I find big mistake we made back when we started our comp platoon is practice, every day. That's what we would do, is play squad conquest, day in, day out. And it sucks the fun out of it, is the feedback I was getting, and that's why a lot of people left, and that's why a lot of people didn't want to play comp anymore, is because it's not fun. It's fun for a few matches, and, every night, bit of practice, but then move on to the bigger game modes and have a bit of fun, and fly some planes and blow some tanks up and stuff, like, Go and play some breakthrough, go and have a bit of fun. But the trouble is with that, then, as you go in with a large group then into a server, and even though you're on both sides, then you get accused of being, killing the server. You could have, 4 or 5 guys on each side, but then you get called all sorts then for doing that. But now we got private servers, a lot of times, we'll host a server, so you're not getting accused of pub stacking then and stuff like that, like, and then we have like a teabag Tuesday and stuff like that, Well, we haven't done one for a while now, but yeah, stuff like that, and I think that's what we want, is more events for people to go and do, is community events. That's what keeps it alive, I think. So I know, it used to be Battlefield Friday night or Friday Night Battlefield, but even that seems to be not so popular with anybody anymore,
Yeah,
I think
mean,
a lot of the comp platoons was using it as a bit of a training ground, is what they were saying on Twitter, and then so we stopped going then because of that,
yeah,
Yeah, I just want to piggyback on something there. Like, I think something that Aber brings up, and like Aber, it's tag and bag, man. You can't bag me unless you steal my tags, right? That's the way
Yeah,
the game works. But
yeah,
the role of those events for like fortifying the community and like giving them even like the weekend warriors, something to kind of like look forward to every weekend. Like we try to do, like something on Saturday, and then Sunday will be like our throwback day, so we'll like rent a server on BF4 or like hit up BF1 or something like that just to get, a fresh feel. And it's nice coming back to like an old friend like that, especially like BF4 is where I got started with Battlefield, so it's always nice to go back and play that, play that game. So I think
definitely.
the rules of those events are so important for just like giving everyone a chance, like at least come together, hey, if you're gonna make one thing this week, like make it like these 3 hours.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of
yeah,
exactly. Like try and get everybody on at one specific time, kind of to keep it alive. And sadly, at these points, as the events just become tougher to do because the community's not there anymore. I mean, I know I have,
Yeah.
well over 1,200 hours in game, and then out of game and private matches, doing all the other stuff. I mean, I'm looking at, well over 2,500 hours just dedicated to Battlefield alone in a year and a half time. Um,
Right.
and as the player base drops off, the events start to drop off there, and it just becomes tougher to get more and more people, involved as the community gets smaller and smaller. But again, hats off to you guys for keeping it alive. We did the 32 mashups and T32 mashups before the private servers and everything. And we would try and load people in, and we had 5, 6, 7 platoons there. We also kind of stopped letting or didn't allow like 30th was the best we would let in because everybody else was just too good and they'd all want to get in, and I'd say no because again, to me, which was super important, was making sure the little guy was taken care of because the community was so small. It was always the big teams looking for a go at one of the smaller teams because they didn't have too many options. And again, there you
Right.
go, destroying morale of your team. So I put together personally, like I would find the smaller platoons out there that I would see 4, 5, 6 guys in, and never seen the tags before. I grouped them up. We got them Discord servers running. We got them, a little bit of an operation going, and we had about 6, 7, smaller, low-level teams. Biohazard at that point, when they weren't as good as they are now, and then we had CCC and BFG teams you probably really never even heard of. But they grew, and I'm sure they'll be back for 6. So my goal always, as a community person, which I think is something we should probably kind of get into next, is what I tried to do for the community was make sure the lower level guys were, because if we can bring up, which it seems like what you guys have done, if we can bring up that lower level community, get them interested in competitive, and we can get more average players involved, that'll make a better base for everybody, because you'll have more competition. You'll be able to, kind of spread out the teams rather than playing the same team over and over again, which is kind of almost to the state we're getting towards here with this Battlefield 5. What things did you guys see in the community? I guess, Joe, what did you see here in the community that, kind of was either good or bad, or things that were, positive, I guess, even, that we did for the community, or that you did, or that you saw go on?
There were definitely a lot of really in the beginning when things were still going on. There was definitely a lot more activity. There was always, the events that everybody was putting on that you put on. That Friday Night Battlefield was still a thing for quite a while in the early life cycle of BF5, and the one thing that I can say that I've really seen is that the community has really, even though it's been going through a very tumultuous and difficult time right now, the people that want to be there are there, and they're still doing what they want to do, which is they want to play Battlefield together at the end of the day. Whether it's comp or casual, the amount of teams that I've seen go away is, it's sad and everything like that, but the people that really want to play, they moved on. They found another place. They found another home, with people that are still active and still wanting to get out there. And, Battlefield at the end of the day is more of a casual game. It's, we turn it into a competitive game mode within the confines that, DICE gives us, for servers and whatnot, and game modes that we're able to use. But the difficulties of it was that I think one of the bigger letdowns in Battlefield 5 was that we were kind of promised a 5v5 competitive mode, and then that just slowly drifted away. And the teams that were really, really excited for that, I saw a fairly significant drop in morale, but also membership when that announcement came. And they were just like, well, if this is what it's going to be, and it's, T8s, T12s, and stuff like that, then that's not really what I want to be a part of, and that's fine. People aren't going to play a game that they don't want to play because of mechanics or game modes or anything like that. So for the people that are still around, it has been it's been really great to see that so many people still want to play. Granted, there's not a ton, but the hardcore base that's still there, they still want to play. And so before we move on, Mizzy actually came in and we had a question from her in the chat. So we can respond to that real quick. She asked, as generals, how many hours of work per day did we put into it? And that's kind of a, it's kind of like being a doctor. You're always on call. So some days it was very minimal, but other days it was all day, all night, every day for weeks on end. So for me, it was not a set amount by any means.
Yeah,
Wick?
unlimited hours, isn't it? Huh?
No, go ahead, Aber. How many for you?
Unlimited.
Unlimited. Wick?
Hey, well, just first off, hey Mizzy, it's good to hear from you. I've been chatting with her a little bit. If you don't know, like Mizzy is my predecessor, leading XLGN. Learned a lot from her leadership and just making sure that community is always something that's that's taken care of, like you were talking about a little bit there, Trusted. But I think like yeah, it's people like laugh about it being like a second job, right? But it's not much to laugh at sometimes. It's it's some hours in the morning or lunch or during lunch break or in the afternoons. Sometimes you want to be playing, but you got to handle this stuff instead. So yeah, I don't know about a rough number, but it's definitely hours in the day that you kind of like dedicate towards doing it. Just like you kind of come to expect it. And but working on it, you work smart, and in those ways that you're making systems or procedures and things that can help take care of that stuff later, you can free up some more time that you can actually go on and play the game that you're supporting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
You can spend too much time on it, but can't you?
Yeah,
It's
Missy.
like a full-time job, especially now with this COVID. I've been locked down for over 20 weeks, so I spent a lot of time,
Hmm.
on planning and things like that. But
Hmm.
yeah, it takes up a lot of time,
Yeah, it certainly
especially
does.
with a large platoon.
Yeah, 100%. Um, let's get into that. Uh, what are the daily struggles? What things do you guys encounter? Um, Aber, why don't we lead with you here? What are some things you encounter here in your daily life as a platoon leader, whether it's somebody pissed off, best decisions for the group if you have to make them?
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, like I said earlier, we try not to have drama. We do occasionally get it, and then, you have to deal with it. And it's different every time, It could be racism, it could be all sorts of different things. Um, Toxicity, is another thing in it, people being toxic to one another. But, we're a team, like, so, teams, they don't treat each other like that, in my opinion, I'm a bit old school maybe, but if you're in a team, then you don't talk crap to each other, you talk to each
Hmm.
other with a bit of respect, and it's about respecting one another, isn't it, at the end of the day? If you've got no respect for each other, then you haven't got anything, in my opinion.
100%.
Regardless of how good a person is at the game, it doesn't give him the right to talk down to anybody, you know what I mean? So, just because that person's a lesser player, for instance, or,
Yeah.
something like that, so, you got to keep an eye on it, haven't you?
Hmm.
There's a lot of age difference as well. So, the older boys might not get what the younger boys are saying sometimes, So there's a bit of that.
Yeah, yeah, you deal with people with different ages there, so you have maturity issues
Yeah,
I mean, you get guys going up to 50 in my platoon, so um, you gotta
yeah,
make
there's
sure
a bit of
everybody's kind
that.
of, yeah,
But that's one
definitely.
of the requirements, 16 is the youngest we let in, and they have to be mature, 16-year-olds, If they're
Hmm.
not mature, then we don't really, we don't want them here, like, is the thing.
Wick, how about you? Any daily
Yeah,
struggles that come to mind here?
yeah. Right off the bat, what I was saying, like 16. That's XLGN is the same. It's 16. But that 16, 17, like we kind of require that that person before they even get into like a recruitment process, play with the team leaders once or twice, and we get a feel for who they are, because that is something that buffers our community from those daily struggles of having to deal with toxicity or having to deal with negativity. Is that recruitment process. It's so important, to just take care of that issue at the gate. Like if someone's going to come in and do that, then during those first 2 weeks of the probationary period, it's going to not be a great fit for our community, and that's a way that we buffer ourselves. Because while skill might be something that like attracts us to a player or attracts a player to us, like it is not at all a make or break kind of thing. Like we have guys who started out being really casual, and just because there's a competitive element there, they like, oh, I'll dip my feet in there, and they end up really liking it. And that's a great transition to have your casual. It's a natural transition for like casual players who come in not knowing if they really want to, do comp or anything like that, but then they dip their toes in and they like it and they get a feel for it, and it's something that now you have another dependable player to fill your roster with.
Hmm.
Um, but we have I think like a lot of clans, we have like a code of conduct, and that's out there posted on our Discord. Like anyone who joins the Discord can go read that, and that's what we hold our members to, because you know luckily we don't have a lot of instances of needing to enforce it because of that recruitment process, because our community is so chill and just wants to make sure they have fun around Battlefield and around other games. There's just they've never really had an issue with it. There's no need for it to do whatever it is that people get out of it.
Hmm. That's good. I mean, installation and protection from, possible drama. A lot of leadership that I've come to find is not, acting and reacting. It's being proactive, seeing something before it happens, anticipating possible events, and putting yourselves in situations to anticipate those possible events, such as bringing in a new recruit there. And instead of just bringing him straight in, you do the process and you make sure you vet him first. Or possibly seeing whatever other issues that could be going on, the beginnings of a bad conversation about to go downhill. I think that's something that leaders always kind of have to be cognizant of, and even when you are playing a game, you do have to be aware that of what's being said to make sure there isn't anything going to be going on. So as much as you are trying to um, play the game and enjoy the game, Mizzy, you're still working. It's a 24-hour, 7 job, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for me. First thing I do when I wake up in the morning is check Discord,
Hmm.
and five private DMs, and then by the time I counted yesterday, I had 24 different group messages, private DMs on top of all the other work I had to do with the platoon. So, I've been dealing with. We did a big culling of members here because we're trying to, really get back to the core family aspect of the group. And I had to cut like 60 guys, some of which were, kind of active still, um, but not enough to keep. And been dealing with that for the past few days because, on my end, the daily struggles. It's dealing with people every day, whether it's somebody upset in their regular life, whether it's somebody who's looking for more people to game with, whether it's a question about an event coming up, um, you know, um, and you'd be surprised. It's not just as easy as hey, how you doing? Let's go play games.
Yeah.
There always seems to be something. I mean, people are people. Uh, it kind of always seems to be a little something. Nothing that you can't work out. Nothing too horrendous most of the time. But I've had my fair share of those too. Um, it's 24 hours a day job here. But it's worth it because, for me, and that's something I want to ask you guys, and Joe, we still need to get to you. Um, what makes you most proud to be a leader, the leader of your group there? And I mean, Joe, we'll start with you on that, and then, if you want to actually go back to some of the daily struggles you encountered too, because I'd like to hear about them.
Yeah, sure. Just start with the daily struggles. It was, a lot of the daily struggles was just managing personality types. There was always difficulties between players that it seemed like I kind of had to babysit a lot, which was rather annoying. As you can imagine, the 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 players that so- seem to follow a trend of the better the player, the harder they were to deal with because of various factors. I'm sure ego is one of the bigger ones that's in there. And, finding out about things that they are doing on the sly, clandestinely, talking to other teams, talking to whoever it is, which, my thing was always like, if you're not happy here, tell me. Yeah, go. It's fine. If you're not happy here for, whatever reason it may be, just let me know. So either A, I can fix it because I mean, I'm not perfect. I can't see every little problem. I just do the best that I can based upon the information that I get. But if it's something that is just baked into, the cake as it were for whatever what 30th competitive was, then it's like, okay, yeah, fine. I don't need you to go and start soliciting, being like, hey, if I was, doing that thing where everybody's like, hey, so like if somebody was, wanted to leave one platoon and join another comp team, then, what would that look like? It's like I just didn't see the need for any of that. And the amount of that happened was kind of shocking in the beginning, and then I just kind of became numb to it, and I'm like, all right, people are going to do this. You're going to have to deal with it, figure out ways to deal with it, and move on. So, you know, the daily difficulties of dealing with the different personalities was always the biggest thing. And then also there were a lot of, you know, there were rivalries within the platoons, obviously, and that usually came from, you know, you have a comp match and then somebody is accused of, you know, using whatever, doing whatever, and then, you know, a rivalry sparks off, and, you know, that was always something that you had to kind of, as a leader, you had to be like, all right, guys, you know, there's no way to determine whether or not somebody's using X, Y, or Z. You can't do it. There's no way. DICE doesn't care, so they're not going to institute anything, or PlayStation isn't going to institute anything, especially because they'll lose money. And so you kind of just got to be like, all right, we got beat. Legit or not, we got beat, and all we can do is try to do better next time. And you know, that was hard on a lot of my members, being like, all right, because they were so dead set on being like, oh, that guy's using this and that guy's using that and everything like that. It's like, yeah, they might be, they might not be, who knows, but doesn't, you know, the fact of the matter is that honestly, towards the end there, it was a loss of morale for us that kind of left the 30th competitive team in the state that it was in, because you know, as I said, we were a mid-tier team and there were not mid-tier teams left to play. Mm-hmm. There was, you know, you either step up and play the higher tier, or you beat up on the little guys, and that's not fun. It really just isn't. You know, it's one thing to, you know, be like, hey, we need to play somebody, and you go to a platoon leader and be like, hey, we need to play somebody, and you're always going back and forth. It's like, okay, do we play somebody that's, you know, significantly weaker than us and beat up on them, or do we play somebody that's significantly better and have our morale get completely shot to hell? That was, you know, one of the harder things to deal with, was just that, again, riding that fine line of, you know, which way do we go? Which way is more beneficial? Because, you know, one way would be beneficial for, you know, inflating our, you know, sense of self. And then the other way, it would just be it would just deflate everything. And it was always difficult. So, yeah.
And what made you most proud, though, despite all the headaches, especially being the skill level you guys were, and losing all the teams and the support, I guess, around with membership, you know, in Battlefield there. What, you know, despite all of that, what made you proud to do what you did?
I was proud that we were able to, you know, I got very lucky coming into the competitive scene when I did, because, you know, 30th had been established way back in Battlefield 1. I came in at Battlefield 5, and we had a really solid crew of very good competitive players that still wanted to compete at a higher level and continue moving forward. So in that sense, I'm just, you know, the proud moments came when we pulled off those, you know, come from behind upset wins, which we had a few. And, you know, everybody got a super great feeling after that. And there were, you know, the amount of times that happened more often than not somehow. I don't know. We just, you never know how it's going to go in a T8, because that's majority of what we played. Yep. So obviously the winning, but also just, you know, getting to know the players and the backgrounds of people, and, you know, really realizing that a lot of them were looking for that outlet for themselves, because, you know, they might not be, you know, they're people with competitive natures usually started off in like regular old sports, but for a lot of people, you know, sports might not be in the cards, so you can kind of replace your enthusiasm and competitive nature. And, you know, that's a big reason as to why I got into it. I couldn't physically do the things that I wanted to do anymore. So I was like, well, I've always been, halfway mediocre at playing video games, especially first person shooters. So yeah, why not give it a shot? And I'm just very proud that we had the success that we did.
Yeah. Wick, how about you? What's made you most proud to do here?
I mean, well, proud is just like we have a team that wants to stick together, like through the lows and the highs of Battlefield. Like our community stays together. It's a place where you can always find someone to play with, and it's just because video games, like I think, video games is more fun when you have, like, when you can play cooperatively with others. Like when you can at least squad with like one other person and like go take on a server and be maybe like a tanker spotter crew, or running through an objective together. Like it's just more fun to play with at least one other person. It changes the dynamics of the game.
Hmm.
And I mean, what makes it worth it for me is um is that like I want to be the leader that I would want. Like that's kind of like what I think about when I'm trying to make decisions or give advice for my group, is like what would make sense to me as a gamer to hear if I was in their shoes. Like what would make sense for me to hear from them. And it's about like providing guidance for your clan, and keeping them on good standards with like other clans, because that's especially when you start playing the same clans over and over again, like you've talked about. We have like this like rotating kind of like schedule, right, as at this point, because there's not that many going on, not that many active teams. You just
Hmm.
want to make sure that everyone in your group is staying level headed, and luckily we got a lot of level headed members who keep our community really solid, and respectful towards what they can do, respectful towards what other teams can do. And I mean, Joe's talking a little bit here before about like player turnover, and I think that's definitely inevitable when you have like teams, especially when you start getting them up higher in numbers. You're gonna have like some player turnover, and I don't know. I feel like the community is. I never really want to hold the grudge. It's not my thing, but I think the community is just like too small to like hold a grudge and like be negative towards people.
Hmm. Hmm.
If it's not the right fit for them, like if XLGN is not the right fit, it's not the right fit, and that's what it's about for them as a player. They want to find the right fit in a team, and so it's about wishing them the best of luck. Like, okay, you really want to focus on this. I hope you find it in that group. Like, good luck.
Yeah,
It's that's what it's about, because that's gonna keep the
100%.
community together and not have any like divisiveness among like teams.
Good. And Bear, how about you? What's made you most proud to do?
Makes me proud, you know. Well, like I mentioned earlier, we won the tournament. That was a real proud moment for me. The
Hmm.
fact that we're still here after 3 years. We play different games together. Like we're saying, it's great. You can get on most times of the day and find people to game with.
Hmm.
You know, um, the teamwork. When I generally watch most of the matches we play. I generally don't play in them unless
Hmm.
they're the bigger matches.
Hmm.
And watching the matches and seeing the guys, the teamwork. If one of the guys are streaming it themselves, you're in the comms, hearing them all talking, that's proud moments for me.
Hmm.
All the. But yeah, like I say, being here all this time, it's a great feeling,
Right.
having all these different members and different personalities from all around the world. Like
Yeah.
another proud moment for me, we've recently got some jerseys, hoodies, and things like that, and seeing pictures of the guys wearing them on match nights. Like I've got some merch in the house, mugs and stuff, and like seeing all that, that's great.
Yeah.
One of the guys was saying you'll be walking down the street one day and seeing somebody wearing one, and be able to say, oh, hello, do you know who I am? Like.
Amazing, right?
But yeah, proud moments, definitely proud
Yeah.
moments for me. Like,
Yeah, for me, um, I think my proudest moment was after the solid 8, 10 months worth of work when we beat Vex, and we beat them, especially the way we played on our Ross. I mean, it was just amazing. All the work, you put in, we put in to trying to build this and get it, and then, it kind of all comes together. It's just such an achievement. The other one was actually a loss to 5-0 first, and we lost one of the matches pretty handily, but we won, I think, one or came close, and I mean, uh, they were 501st was always somebody because they were one of the first teams we scrimmed when we started competing, and we kind of got a crack at them like a year later, and the improvement level, the growth that we had was just so tremendous. That was definitely one of my prouder moments, Battlefield related, but for me, my proudest moment is just hands down, hopefully, hopefully I have just touching and impacting the lives of the people around me. I've met some phenomenal people here in my group, and I wouldn't trade them for the world. They're just, people come to you in need sometimes. People come looking in a bad situation, in a bad spot, and, a lot of times PlayStation could be an outlet. Video games can be an outlet for people, and including myself, and I'm sure even some of you guys. And, to provide a community like each one of you guys have, and to do the things you guys do is just, it's tremendous, it's remarkable, it's much respected, and you guys do not get enough credit. Nobody gives you guys enough credit for the work you do. Only leaders, only true leaders who have done the work we have done really understand what we put into it, and, the emotions that we ride, when you have a member who's crying or upset, or you have a member who's angry, a member who's, whatever the heck's going on, and, you ride that wave with them, It's not just them riding it alone. You care about your members, you care about every single person in there, and you want to make it work, and that's always our primary goal, I think, and, that I think that's my personal proudest moment, is just every life I've hopefully touched. If you've heard one thing, I think, through all of us, people watching, and anybody looking to ever build a platoon or any sort of clan, I think you've heard the getting to know your members, learning them, listening to them, helping them, trying to be there, and trying to do what's right. Listening. Again, just listen to them and just keep their thoughts in mind and always work for them, and they'll show you that love back, and that's how you gain their respect. Fun, enjoyment, smile on your face. I mean, that's what I heard from each one of you guys. I wrote it all down here. Each one of you said something to that effect, and those are the keys. First and foremost comes community. First and foremost comes the people. First and foremost. And then, everything else kind of builds on top of it. At least that's the way I did it. But off the touchy stuff, I guess, now, and we can get into a little more fun. Let's go through some Battlefield 5. What'd you guys put yourself back here? What was that, 2018? When Battlefield was about to drop, Battlefield 5, what was everybody's anticipations, everybody's goals here? I know we were going crazy. We had everybody lined up. We were already pre-recruiting. We had posters, banners. We had it all, right? And we were stocked and ready to go. Little did we know what was it going to turn into. Somebody take over. Tell me.
Well, I had the emblem made, and the fact that we couldn't display that really got up my nose. It still does to this day. That's my biggest gripe now, to be honest. Give us the emblems. Come on, we got them on Battlefield 1. What's the problem,
I know.
Yeah. We had it all planned. I was going to be a internet sensation. I was going to be a Battlefield 5 streamer, but there you go. That didn't happen.
I know.
Gosh. I think a lot of people expected to do well with streaming, with Battlefield 5 coming, from Battlefield 1, and thinking it was going to be a great success.
When did they decide to delay? They said RSP was coming, right? Well, I forget what happened there. They said RSP was coming, Joe, and then they just delayed it. What was the deal with that? I know you know.
Yeah, so basically they came out and were like, okay, you are going to get RSP at some point. They really were super vague about a lot of things, but especially RSP, community games as it's called now. And so the inability to have the, competitive matches in a easy way, literally having to go into a, public server and kind of bully everybody out or ask nicely or realize they're not going to leave and then have to have to go find another one to try to clear out. I mean, there were so many times that we spent hours, at least I think the longest time it was an hour and a half to find a server to finally play in.
We did once.
And so the rental server program, they just kept on pushing it further and further and further away. Saying like, oh, it's coming. It's coming there. You'd have one of the devs or, Jeff Braddock as a community manager coming like, yeah, it's coming, guys. It's coming. And
next, they weren't lying, I guess.
No, they weren't lying. And I mean, even to this day, they are still in their pursuit to give the proper tools to run a proper server. They're still working on it. This is the very last thing that they are working on within BF5 is to give us the tools for the rental or for the community games that we've had in pretty much every single other Battlefield up until this time. I do believe this was the very first Battlefield that did not release with a rental server or a server server maker that you could use. And so, we probably could start a list of the things that have been done to us as a competitive or trying to be competitive community. And it was just one hit after another, just being like, oh, okay.
Yep.
Have fun.
That makes me think like they almost didn't put any effort into Battlefield 5. Wick, what do you have to say about that? Do you think that's the case, or?
All I know is it's not a good sign when your like general answer for things becomes a meme. Like when your like soon becomes fucking trademarked. Sorry, I don't know if I can swear, but it's when your soon becomes trademarked, like people are like, oh, soon TM, let me just stick it on everything. I mean, even you make fun of it when you release the tank. The tank customization, like finally, like it's like the game's already beyond like support, and you're like, but tank customizations, like look, and just like the idea, like it's the players being impatient. It's like, look, we're not being impatient, guys. It's like there's no emblems. I don't know how many platoons I see running like the assault emblem. Or like the same emblems. It's like how much effort would that take to make it such like a more professional feel in like your first person views, like no RSP to like let the community come together and change up the rules of the dynamics of the match, or like be able to just bring people in and play small game modes. That was like what Battlefield 4 still thrives on today. The fact there's like the communication elements that existed in Battlefield 4, like battle log and things like that, have just kind of like melted away and are no longer a priority or no longer anything that people think players want. When like I remember when battle log disappeared, people were like, where the hell did battle log go? Like I use that all the time. Now we have like Battlefield Tracker and stuff instead, but I don't know. It's just kind of been like a series of things that players liked that have like slipped away, and then they think we're impatient, or they think they think the community is like wanting too much or pushing too hard. It's like we just want the game to be what we know it can be, what you kind of promised it could be, and what it's been in the past.
I do feel like we were let down a little bit. I mean, so many of us had high hopes for this Battlefield 5, and I guess we were just definitely kind of let down with whether it be RSP, whether it be me sitting in a match offering to pay two guys $10 to leave the match, and then realizing they weren't going to leave if I paid them the $10. But and then even before they dropped Battlefield 5, right? Didn't I don't know, the vice president or somebody come out and say like if you don't want the game or if you don't like the game, don't buy it or something like that? So
I remember that. Yep.
I mean, but it was still pretty astounding to me how we still tried so hard. Everybody still tried so hard and kept hope alive for so long to try and wait for RSP, which took I don't know like almost like 8-10 months or something like that. And we still had our matches. We still got them in somehow, some way, and we fought the system to try and get what we got, and eventually RSP dropped, and then I mean things took off, right? I mean once RSP dropped, the league started up hard. Were you guys all in a league? Right at drop, right when RSP dropped.
I'm not sure if it was like right at RSP drop, but it was definitely being able to just at least start scrimming and having like organized fights with their platoons, like that was That was
Yeah, I
huge
think
once that
we
was able to
was
start
midway
happening.
through.
Yeah, it kind of
Sorry, Vic.
kicked everybody back into gear. I think a lot of people even like stopped playing and then came back for a little bit with RSP. And that's just again like a statement to the community and how good the community is because Battlefield players still come back and they always will come back because they love this game so much. You even see the hardcore ones almost 2 years later still playing, Battlefield 5, and then you still see your guys, right, Wick, on Battlefield 1, Battlefield 4, renting
Yeah,
servers still. So,
yeah, absolutely.
the community, I think, is phenomenal. That's hats off to the players and, each one of you guys out here, playing the game and just being out there. What happened? I guess we can fast forward, right? Because, I'm sure we had a bunch of stuff happen between that time we get RSP, and then they decide in February to say, hey, we got to take the squad conquest maps away from you. And at that same time, Warzone was dropping, right? Or was like right around
Yeah,
that time Warzone was dropping. What
yeah.
happened then to you guys? I want to hear from each one of you guys.
Jeez.
Wick,
Go
you
ahead, Aber.
first. Okay.
Yeah, well, we just had to make the best of what we got, I suppose, and use the they've gone the squad conquest. You can't get any. They back actually now, I think.
They're
Oh,
back.
I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
know. I'm
It
lost
took
with it. But
it
anyway,
took
basically,
two
if you
months.
wanted to play, if you want to play squad conquest, you've got to make your own server basically, and you can either make it passworded if it's a few of you, and you've got a team of 16. You can play your own game, but then if you no password, then you'll fill up with randoms like it,
No, I think they
But
took it away at that whole point. Like there was none to be even private servered. Was I Wick? Was that right or no? Am I wrong?
I can't remember the details. What I do know is like the first thing you start looking for is like why. Why is all of a sudden like this game mode gone and like grind is in? And then why is like grind taken out for like rush? And like why
Oh,
can't
that
these
point too.
things just be played?
well,
Like why
yeah, I'd
can't we
love
just
to see
pick them and
grind
play
on
them?
private.
And then you come to find out and it's just like lazy menu design. It's just like they got pushed under the rug and they got told, hey, put together a front end menu system for this game and oh yeah, like we can't code it well, or we don't have enough time to code it, so we can have like all of these potential playlists. I mean, like go back to Battlefield 4, even Battlefield 1, like you could play any game mode, and
Yeah.
I get the whole like, oh, well, if we only offer 6 options to play, like the community won't splinter. But the thing is, like that was the whole point of live service. The whole point of getting away from DLCs and premium was so that it wouldn't splinter. So I feel like having to take another step of saying, oh, we're also going to limit the game modes you can play week by week, it's just artificially trying to pump in like, oh, people really enjoyed this game mode. Where they much rather be playing Rush, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that was
100.
annoying.
Yeah, because when they took away in February the squad conquest mode specifically, because that's what we were like thriving on, that
Yeah.
literally killed our team. I brought back once they brought the maps back like month and a half later, we started a practice again, and one of my members said to me, "Oh man, this feels like going to school or something like that," and I was like, well, if it feels like going to class, then, we're done. Like, we're not going to do this anymore. Warzone had just dropped almost at that same point in time, and everybody had a month and a half to start playing other games because my guys were really focused on the COD comp section, and they
Hmm.
weren't so much focused on the game because they already had well over 1,000 hours in. So, other games come out and, things are going to happen, but they were still dedicated. Taking it away destroyed that for them, and it destroyed, any chance at TFR being a competitive squad for the next few months. Now, it was my choice there to either say, all right, we stick with Battlefield, or we make that switch and transition into more of a PS4 community clan with an emphasis on like first-person shooters, Battlefield, and Call of
Hmm.
Duty. And that's what we ended up doing. And it was a process, quite a process, but Battlefield sadly lost a platoon to that move. Me 501st went off and went ahead and stopped after that, and so did a bunch of others.
Yeah.
It was just bad timing, but also just bad moves on their part. And Joe, what happened with 30th there at that point in time? Was that the same point in time where you guys had that same issue?
Yeah, very, very similar to what you were talking about, in which, people were kind of, this was towards the end of when we stuck in for a good month after Warzone and all of that kind of dropped and everything. But also during that time, coming back to them taking away Squad Conquest, I believe what happened was they didn't take the full mode away. They just took out like 80% of the maps. You play like 4 of the maps.
Oh yeah. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
And so, and some of the maps that they took away were the ones that everybody really enjoyed to play for competitive. So it's like, all right, well, I guess we got to kind of limp along on these, 5 crappy maps. And, a lot of teams stuck with it and stuck in there. And we were just hoping that it would come back sooner than later. And it ended up coming back, but not for a couple of months. So the 30th went through it was always a slow decline of players just throughout the life cycle. There was kind of one and one bigger uptick in it when the Pacific hit, because everybody actually enjoyed the Pacific. That was one of the few things that I think they added to the game that they did well. Killed it a week later with the second TTK change. There's been several different things that people have said in the chat that are, yeah, that didn't help. 2 TTK changes, limited time modes, people not being able to play what they want, lack of hardcore servers. It's just it was just a series of missed opportunities, and the one that they did well in, they stomped on right as soon as they did it. So, with Warzone coming out, Call of Duty and everything like that, everybody got super hyped on that. So people went to play that, and just, they split off to play other games. So it was just ultimately I kind of came together with the group of, I think it was like 9, maybe 10 of us that we were still playing and everything like that. And we're just like, do we even like this anymore? And it's like, are we having fun anymore? Is this, do we want to invest time into this anymore? And the majority said no. And so we were like, all right, well, we're going to, disband the competitive team. If you want to continue going on and play for somebody else, that's perfectly fine. But it just, the writing was on the wall, as they say, just to be like, nobody's having fun. Nobody's really wanting to continue on with this. Let's, we had a good run. Let's hang it up for now, and we'll see what happens with the next one.
And it's funny because, you actually, people watching, you got 3 different, groups here. You have one group who's gone dormant until BF6. You have, somewhat dormant. You have my group who's just completely left the Battlefield scene and just transitioned into a PlayStation group. And then you have 2 teams that are still alive and kicking and doing really well in the Battlefield community. So, hey, maybe in Battlefield 6, we redo this and see where all our teams are at. But each route goes, and I guarantee you by Battlefield 6, though, each team will be successful, whether it's TFR, whether it's 30th, whether it's Scion, whether it's XLGN. Each team will be successful because it doesn't matter the direction you take as long as you have solid leadership who knows what they're doing, who's getting to know their members, who's taking care of their members, who's making sure everybody's enjoying themselves and having a smile on their face. So, again, for those looking to become leaders and start your own thing, those are some major keys, and those are really the most important things to leading and making sure you have a solid, well-run organization.
Good foundations, and it's all about the last 3 years is building foundations, and we got systems in place now that we didn't have 2 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, with us we did expand and then contract, expand, contract.
But yeah, but for new platoons out there, and they haven't got nothing, they've got a Discord server maybe, and but like I say, there's a lot more to it than that, and having foundations and systems in place, and yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and for those teams who are wanting to try to get into being in the Battlefield community, we are starting up. I think it's the T8 season, right, Aber? For Omega League this year. So if you got yourself and 8 solid members who want to jump on and jump into the competitive a little bit and get into the Battlefield community, Omega League starting up, and we're happy to bring in new teams and introduce them to the Battlefield community in that way.
That's it.
Yeah.
What it's
Where
all
the
about.
place to start,
Yep.
Mhm.
get yourself a team together. You don't need 24 people to enter. You only need 8.
Mhm. Yeah.
As long as they turn up every week for you, that's all you need.
Yeah.
And I
And
think Trusted will post a picture, and on that picture will be a QR code to
okay.
Yes.
scan to sign up.
Yes. We'll take Joe. How about you do that? I don't know if I can do it.
All right.
All right. And then I guess Battlefield 6 as we kind of
Yes.
round out this whole day here. Um, hopes, dreams, aspirations. I'm hoping big. I don't know. What do you guys?
Well, yeah, it's got to be big, haven't it? It's kind of like, Battlefield 4, then Battlefield 1, so Battlefield 5, now Battlefield 6 has got to blow it out of the water, hasn't it?
They don't have a
And I think
choice,
they do
right?
it, they've gone to work, haven't they? That's where they are now, in it.
Mhm.
So, all of them, so hopefully
I
they can do a good job.
I think I was one of the happy ones when they said it was coming out November 2021 or,
Yeah,
2021 that
give
time.
them some
Give them the
space now.
time. I'd rather have a phenomenal game. The community's not going anywhere. You saw that, like Joe said, with the Iwo Jima bring back.
Hmm.
You saw it so many times throughout. So, give them the time. We'll give them the respect, and I think and we hope, they'll
Yeah,
do
they
good
can
on
do
this
it.
one. And I mean, I wish they would contact us so we could help them on the community side of things. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, absolutely.
God,
Maybe
gosh,
they
but
need some new community managers, man. Hit them up.
what about you, Wick? What are you hoping for Battlefield 6?
Well, I absolutely agree. I'd rather play really good game in a year than play like a new game in 6 months.
Hmm.
So absolutely give them the
Yeah,
time. I mean, plus you're having the console transition, so especially during this like very stressful time, financially and mentally in people's lives right now. So it's kind of also this question about how the community is going to look once PS5 launches in November. Is that going to
exactly.
fragment the community more because some people will pick it up right away, and some people will stay with PS4 because hey, there's no new
Yep.
Battlefield. Why would
Well,
I upgrade?
exactly.
Would I upgrade yet? But one thing that I would love to see back is can you please bring back Levolution? Like, please bring that back. That is such cool moments from like Siege of Shanghai to the Overbridge and Sinai Desert and Battlefield One. Like, Levolution, I feel like in Battlefield 4 they made it a staple of the Battlefield franchise, and they just took it away. And I'm really disappointed about that because it was such a cool element of the game that the actual battlefield you're changing on or you're playing on can change mid-match because
Hmm.
of some like major map event.
Hmm.
I really miss that. I think they've done a great job with player movement. It feels because we go back and we play Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1, and the movement in Battlefield 5 feels really good. It can always get better, as we know, trying to jump through a window like 4 or 5 times. But it can always get better. The gunplay is better. They're doing a lot of good things in the core mechanics, but it seems like they kind of narrowed their focus in a little bit
Hmm.
too much, and they tunnel visioned. And instead of focusing on like solidifying a TTK, instead of focusing on having additional things like Levolution, making sure if you're gonna do live service that you don't end it while people are still wanting to play your game. Um,
Yeah.
Having a map of content so you don't have like long droughts. Like, yeah, Pacific came out and a bunch of people came back, but like, how long did we wait for that? How many months of nothing new was there?
Hmm.
Uh, so I think there's a lot for them to look into, a lot for them to look now at past experiences and improve upon, and hopefully having made those mistakes um, will afford them the insight to not make those mistakes in BF6 or whatever
Hmm.
it's called.
Learn from your mistake, or else history repeats itself. Yeah, I would agree with 100% of what you're saying there. And how about you, Joe? Anything you're
Uh,
looking forward to, hoping?
yeah, there's a lot of thought going around this on my end, just because it's what I like to really, it's what I like to do, especially when a newer game is coming out. It's like, okay, so let's learn from the past. What did people, basically they've had Battlefield going for 20 years now.
Hmm.
1942 came out like 1999, right? Something like that.
Hmm.
Learn from your triumphs and learn from your downfalls. And every single game had its bright spots. And it's not that hard to find out this information. There's a plethora of people that are in the community, whether it's the giant YouTubers, the Twitch streamers. There is not a lack of information that DICE cannot figure out what people want in this next game. The thing that messed up Battlefield 5, in my opinion, hearing this, anecdotally through, different things on like Glassdoor reviews and stuff like that, people leaving the company with a bad taste in their mouth and being like, here, this is exactly what went wrong. Apparently, the DICE developers really wanted this game to be playable and to be able to be what the community really wanted, but that is not what management wanted. They wanted their pristine, beautiful looking game, and they wanted to literally kind of set a narrative around it. And that is not how you make a playable game. That is how you kill a game, because nobody cares what you guys want. It's what we want at the end of the day. So the things that I'm really looking for them to bring this time is keeping the level of graphic fidelity with minor tweaks. Obviously, they've definitely gotten a lot better since beforehand. You can actually see people a little bit within the more bright maps, Merida especially. And so, keeping the high level of graphics. And as Wicken was saying, I really enjoy the movements. The addition of the slide was definitely welcome. I really didn't like the little short slide thing that you could do with BF1. I didn't really like BF1 at all, to be honest with everybody. So don't shoot me. Just wasn't my style of game. And so the gunplay as well, I really, really enjoyed. They need to have good servers. They need to keep their servers around. There were several servers, they got rid of the London base or the, England based servers pretty much immediately. And they're just like, yeah, we're just going to go with, the German ones, which was, which was a really big step backwards in my eyes, because the ability to have a truly really good competitive match between an EU team and a US based team, it wasn't possible anymore with a ping of 110, 90 if you were lucky. So there are, the movement, the gunplay was really great. The graphics was really, really great. That I really want to have 128 if it's playable. There are games out there that have larger servers, and sometimes it's not the greatest thing for them to go that big, because the game kind of either gets too chaotic or it gets or it slows down considerably depending upon the map size. So if they go to 128, they're really going to have to focus on map size and map flow, which is something I don't think they really paid that much attention to in 5. There are some good maps, but there's more than a few that people just don't play because they are not good at all. And there's a very long list that I have.
We could be here all day.
We could be here all night. So the
podcast picking apart the maps.
Exactly. We could have a
5-episode series.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the one final thing that I really do want is crossplay, and with that they need a solid anti-cheat, because we know that crossplay brings cheaters. Unfortunately, they have no anti-cheat in BF5. It's terrible. I went actually 2 days ago. I went and played a little bit on PC, because I have a PC that I can actually run it fairly well now. And it was 2 matches in before I got a hacker. And it was, it's terrible. It's unplayable. They pull out the Lewis, they put the giant mag on it, and they just spray everybody down, headshots all the time. It's just unplayable. The server died immediately. People were just like, please leave. And no, they're just, they're there to do their thing. So and actually, so kind of one last final thing to add on to the crossplay.
Keep it coming.
They do not need this to be playable on PS4 and Xbox One. It should be only next gen. I know that's probably controversial, But
No, I totally agree.
if you want to push the envelope, as they have stated, I forget who said it. I think it was Marcus in the chat said, they put out this little saying that they are having crazy and very ambitious things. You cannot do crazy and ambitious on PS4 or Xbox One, in my opinion.
Totally agree.
Yeah, I
with
mean,
that.
Too limited.
Your hardware is like a whole generation old, and that's part of what people are talking about, games being kept back at the early ages of, PS4 because of backwards compatibility to PS3 and, multiple platform support. It's not going to allow the new hardware to do what people expect the new hardware to do because that's what you've spent the last year in every press conference hyping up. Is every game's gonna have ray tracing, every game's gonna grind this frame rate, we're gonna have like way more, expansive environments, things like that. It's like you can't do that if you're always worried about, well, will the old console run it? Who cares? No, people are gonna play it on the new one. So
Yeah.
you got to make the move. You got to make the move.
Yep, couldn't agree
Big
more.
bold. And what about Battlefield 3 remake? Has that rumor died down then?
Oh
Is it?
man,
That's not happening, is it?
I have no
Bad
idea.
Company 2 remake.
I'm
Bad Company
relying on you
3.
guys to keep me
October,
updated.
like, where we going to get an announcement mid-month or what?
I don't know.
Well,
There was a lot of hype about it last month, wasn't it? About a remake, a remaster. Maybe
Yeah.
that's coming on a new console.
well, I just hope let's just let them work on one thing at a time. Let them do Battlefield 6 first good, and then they can go ahead and make Battlefield 3.
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking we might have a surprise around the corner,
Yeah.
fingers crossed and all that.
I'll be angry if they come out with one of those just because they're not devoting all their energy to the right place.
Right.
Right.
But, which is why I didn't mind when they said they were shutting down BF5 because I was like, you know what, like
Yeah.
even if just
Mhm.
one fraction of whatever manpower they had goes to BF6 from BF5, that's fine by me. Let's just make the next one good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna wrap it up here. I do thank everybody for coming out. Aber, Wick, Joe. Myself, I guess I can thank myself. Is that possible? And I really do
Thanks
appreciate
for
you
the
guys.
invite.
Yeah.
Super smooth, super fun, and I really appreciate it. Everybody in chat, thank you all for showing up. Holy gosh, 18 viewers. This is something else. Oh, love you guys. Mizzy, love you too. And then
He's really famous.
Yeah. Right. I'm just gonna
Um,
tag though. Like, Aber and I we have a match tonight, so XOGN's gonna be playing Scion tonight. So check it out. I
Yeah,
think
I
Turtle's gonna
think
be
Magic
streaming it,
Man
and
is in the
someone
chat
else,
as
and
well.
yeah, and Peach Kid, he's gonna be streaming it first person, so we'll be playing in it. So that should be fun.
cool. We'll
Yeah,
definitely
and we've
tune in and
got
check it out.
Turkle is streaming the both matches. We got one with Bats before the XLGN
Yeah.
Awesome.
T16. So Turkle's
Awesome.
going to be streaming the both of them.
You guys are busy.
And links reposted in the Mega League Discord. So
All right. Major League Discord.
yeah, good stuff.
All right, so I just want to leave you all with one final thing. Let's see if this works. I want you all to close your eyes
Okay.
and picture, and this is my entrance into Battlefield and why we all love this game. I was Battlefield 1, and I got placed on the map. You got placed in, you got your gun, and you look to your left and you look to your right, and you just see 32 guys standing next to you, and you all start walking and charging up over a hill. And as you start charging up over that hill, you just see a beautiful town laid out before you, just so pristine, so well put together. And then 2 seconds later, as you start running down and you hear the voices and the screams and the whistles blowing and the goes and the charges, you get two of your friendly planes flying up overhead, wow, right straight over, right? And then booms, bombs start flying off in the town and things are just getting crazy. And buildings are falling apart and smoke is in the air. And before you know it, you're getting shot by a tank. I mean, the battlefield is chaos. There's destruction everywhere. It's just the hands down, the most amazing thing running up over that hill to see from what it was right then in that moment to 10 minutes later in complete chaos with 32 people or 64 people, and now imagine 128 with tanks and planes and everything else you could imagine. I mean, who couldn't love this game? And I came from Call of Duty, and I put that
I
game
think
on
most
and
of us did, didn't
hooked it
we?
once.
So.
Mhm.
And then Bad Company 2 I found and I was at and I never went back.
And that's why we love this game, guys. I mean, there's no game like it. There is no game on earth like this. And
Yeah,
hopefully
that's
they
right.
do a good job for Battlefield 6.
But it's the people you play with as well, innit? That's what I always say. Like,
Oh,
if
of
you play with
course.
good people, no matter what the game is, like, as long as you're
Hmm.
enjoying yourself, having fun.
Of course.
If you're not having fun, then it's no point in being here, is it?
But if we can combine the two, oh my God. All right, Joe, wrap it
Yeah.
up. Let's get us out of here, guys.
All
Peace.
right. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
You're good. You can talk.